Ah, that's the one. That is the one. Did you know that you can turn your black and white fashion flat sketches or hand drawings into 3D rendered mockups in minutes? I know I'm not talking about Midjourney. I'm talking about a 3D fashion design software called NewArc.ai, and I'm super excited to be partnering with them to bring you this video. As fashion designers, we often spend a lot of time on Pinterest looking for ideas and inspiration, and then when we find it, we spend a lot of time in Adobe Illustrator mocking up the design, adding textures and colors and fabric type of emulation to create presentations for clients or bosses. And that is where NewArc.ai comes in. It allows you to ideate off of your fashion flats and sketches in a matter of minutes, and then take ones that you like, do some editing to create a final 3D mockup presentation that is going to blow everyone away. Now, I want to be super clear that the goal of NewArc.ai is not to replace a designer, but is just another tool in your toolbox to help you come up with ideas and create mockups and renders that are more accurate to convey your vision. Let's jump in. I want to show you how it works. All right, I'm going to start with my black and white fashion flat in Adobe Illustrator. I have always done all my design in Adobe Illustrator, but you can do this with a hand sketch or in any other software. The point is you want to start with something black and white. We're going to save this as a PNG with transparency. You don't have to have transparency on your image, but I find that it sort of can read white as other stuff. So having the transparency, I have found, gives slightly better results. So we'll go ahead and save that. And we're gonna jump over to NewArc. We're in the playground section. We'll upload that image. And we're gonna start super, super basic. We're gonna give it one word. We're gonna say blazer. We've got this 3D render option here. You have all sorts of settings in here. I prefer to use a photo, but again, there's so many things you can play around with in here. So we'll hit photo. You've got your creativity level. An accurate creativity is going to follow the lines from your illustration, from your fashion flat really accurately, versus creative is going to get a little more interpretive. I like to leave it at balanced and just sort of have a happy medium of both. We will choose 4 images and we will hit generate to create our 3D mockups. All right, we got some pretty interesting results, and literally in a few seconds going from a black and white sketch to a 3D mockup render is pretty phenomenal. I wanna show you guys a couple other cool things to play around with. There's an advanced settings down here at the bottom where you can put a negative prompt, basically telling it what you want it not to do. And so these all came out white with some little accents of blue, and I'd like to see some other sort of design and color options. So I'm gonna say white and blue. I don't want white and blue in the render, and we'll click generate to get some more 3D mockups. All right, we got some very, very, very different styles. Let's push it one step further. I'm gonna take the word brown out, or the color brown out, and generate based off of that. All right, some really interesting and very different results. Let's push this a little step further. All I'm gonna do is change this to jacket from blazer and see how the results vary. Sometimes just changing the word of the garment, like a dress versus a gown, a jacket versus a blazer, a t-shirt versus a blouse, right, can really change the interpretation of the AI. I love these designs. If we want to push this one step further with these 4 specific designs, we don't always have to generate from scratch. We can choose to generate 4 more, and it will generate 4 more based off of the 4 that were just generated. So if you get a result that's like, it's close, but it's not feeling quite like what I want, you can keep generating off of that to iterate different mockups and try to dial your design in a little bit more. Looks like it took some of the red from the background and pushed it into the body. I particularly like this one right here. Very, very fun design. But let's push it a little bit more specific so that we have a little more creative control. When you're putting just like 1 or 2 words in there, the AI is just going to ideate and ideate and ideate, which is a great way to get a bunch of ideas. So I'm going to input a much more specific prompt. I like to specify studio photo because that makes it really clear what kind of image quality we want. And also to avoid getting a human body in there, which I don't want, I'm going to specify on a dress form, and we'll hit generate. Very different, very specific results based off of our prompt. This one is kind of interesting with the zipper in the front. From a functionality perspective, I'm not sure how perfect that would be, but this is a really, really cool design. I love this so much. Let's push it to something different than nylon olive green. Very, very different results based on that prompting, right? The styling feels much more traditional, much more like brown wool houndstooth check. Instead of getting so hyper specific with the fabric and the color, we can do things like this. Studio photo of a punk rock inspired. Or punk rock style. All right, the punk rock style jackets came back. I don't love any of them, I'm gonna be totally honest. And this is the thing with AI. You sometimes get crazy results that you love, and sometimes you're like, that's a little whack, but you just have to dial it in and play with it a little bit. So let's try changing this. I'm just gonna take out the word rock, and we're just gonna say a punk style jacket on a dress form. 4 very different styles based off of changing one word. All we did was remove the word rock. This is one of the things I love about NewArc.ai and this 3D fashion design software is the ability to quickly ideate. Instead of a punk style jacket, let's say a jacket inspired by leopard print. For those of you who don't know, I'm a big leopard print fan, so this is very on brand for me. Some super, super fun results. I particularly love this one and this one over here, number 3 and number 4. This one feels a little too spotty. Let's generate this one more time just to get some more ideas going here for this leopard inspired print. All right, some interesting ones. I don't know about this sleeveless one, but I love number 1 and number 3. And here's where we can have even more fun with NewArc.ai. We can edit specific images and regenerate specific portions, because we all know the realities of working on a creative team, whether you're freelancing and you've got a client or a boss and they're like, okay, what if we try to change the sleeves to black or something like that? So I really like number 1. Let's jump in here. I'm gonna click edit. And we have a tool like a paintbrush where we can draw a mask on this, and we get to mask certain parts of the garment. And so to start, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna paint the sleeves, because I wanna look and see what this might look like with the sleeves in black wool or black leather. So we're gonna paint these. And when you're painting, you want to sort of paint over the edge. If it's on the edge of the garment, make sure that you really push that edge and get the entire garment. It's better to just go over it versus really trying to be perfect on that edge of the garment. So we'll finish painting this sleeve and then we'll play around with some edits. All right, I've got the sleeves painted. I want to change them to be black and change them to be wool. Okay, we have 4 new mock-ups based off of that edit. This looks fabulous. I would definitely rock this jacket. I want to do some edits to one of the other designs, particularly this one right here, number 3. So I'm gonna jump over here and I wanna remove some of the spots. I really like the leopard spots on the lapel, but I'm not really loving them on the body. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint these leopard spots on the body, and I'm going to choose remove. Click that up here, click it down here. I could not have done that faster in Photoshop. And it did a very beautiful job. We have like a little smudge right here, and arguably a little smudge here, and arguably a tiny little, hardly noticeable smudge there. We can remove that blip, but that was pretty impressive. I love the look of this jacket with just the leopard print on the lapel. Okay, it totally cleaned that up with a second step of removal. All right, I wanna try something. I wanna get a blouse in there instead of a model of human body. So I'm gonna paint in there, and then I'm gonna choose Inpaint, and I'm gonna prompt it to do something different in that part. Okay, so I've got that painted, and I'm gonna come over here to Inpaint, and I want to affect the selected area, meaning the part that I painted, and I'm gonna say a jacket on a dress form, and I do not want a model, a body, a human, and we will Inpaint that to regenerate the 3D mockup. Boom, pretty magical results. We get 4 options, and I like this first one the best. So I'm gonna push this a little bit further. I wanna get rid of the legs. And so I'm just gonna paint those, and then we'll try to remove them. All right, I'm gonna click remove and get those legs out of the mockup. All right, that didn't quite give me the result that I wanted, so I'm gonna try something different. Instead, the cool thing is about once you paint something, you can always come back sort of a layer over here on the right and get back to your paint mode. And so what I can do is, now I've already got that painted, I'm gonna try Inpaint instead of remove. I'm gonna say a jacket on a dress form on a gray background. And so when you do any type of Inpaint or changing various things in the AI, you want to tell it the whole thing, not just the part that you've painted. So I don't want to just say a gray background. I want to tell it the whole thing. A jacket on a dress form. I don't have to get so specific with the leopard print because it's not actually going to regenerate the jacket, but it does need to sort of know the context of the entire image. So I'm sort of saying a jacket on a dress form with a gray background, and I don't want the model, body, or human in there. And let's inpaint that and regenerate the mockup. All right, we got a great result, and I'm gonna take it. It replaced the human legs, which were maybe a little too risky looking for me, and replace them with dress form legs, which feels much more appropriate for the mockup. All right, I'm gonna jump back to some of the earlier leopard print ones that we generated. I love this one over here so much, so I have to play around with it. And I wanna do something kind of fun. I'm gonna paint the whole jacket, and I'm gonna give it some really, really vague prompts that are things your clients might say, like, make it more expensive looking, or make it jazzier. I don't know, is anyone saying jazzier? Maybe I'm a little bit of an old lady there, but I wanna play around with these like really vague ideas of like, well, what do you mean? My boss said make it more expensive. And let's see how we can get NewArc to help translate that for us. So I'm gonna paint the whole jacket, and then we'll do some renders. All right, so I've painted everything except the lapel, because I really, really, really love this lapel. And I wanna give it like a super vague prompt, and I'm just gonna say, make it more expensive looking. All right, so when your client gives you a super vague prompt, or your boss does, this is pretty cool results, you guys. I'm pretty impressed with this. Number 1 is interesting. I don't love number 2, but numbers 3 and 4, I would argue, definitely look more expensive. I love how quickly we can generate these. I'm gonna just do a quick little touch up here, and I'm gonna click remove. Take off that extra buttonhole. I love that jacket. If that was like a camel leather with like some faux fur leopard, that would be working for me. Now let's talk about another real life scenario that I know all of you have likely encountered with your boss or freelance clients. It's when they come to you and they say, can we go back to that design we did 3 weeks ago? And that's one of the cool things about NewArc.ai. You can save these designs, your history goes back forever. Over here, we've got our save tab. So you can see I just saved this one, and I can easily curate the designs that I know have kind of made it to the top of the pile. I've also got all of the edited versions. You guys can see I've played around with a lot of fun stuff. And this is showing me all the various edits that I've done. So if I want to come into this and check out the edits I did here, I can do that, and I always have the previous versions of the edits. I like to kind of think of these versions here as sort of layers that we have in Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, and those are automatically saved. So it makes it really, really easy to come back, to continue editing things. So when that boss or client comes and says, hey, let's dig that old design back out, you've got it saved. And last, if you do want to make some really customized edits to any of these images, you can always upscale it and create a really, really large version, which is going to allow you to then take it into Photoshop or some other editing software and really dial in the edits that you want to make. So this is now upscaled. Look at that resolution. This is a very, very, very powerful 3D fashion design software. We will save a Photoshop tutorial for another time, but for now, check out NewArc.ai. I've partnered with them to bring you this video, and we've come up with a great deal for you guys. You can get started with your first 10 images absolutely free, and use the link below to get your first month for 50% off. Sign up, start playing around with it, generate so many ideas, create these mockups. It is so much faster than any other software, any other tool that I've played around with. I've checked out some of the other AI tools for fashion, and by far, NewArc is the most impressive that I have found.